Hello and welcome to the 2019-2020 school year. This presentation will focus on the requirements for mandated reporting and information you need to know as a district employee. I'm Rachel Hillier, Assistant Director of Prevention, Safety, and Grants, bringing you this information in coordination with Dolly Bina, the Assistant Director of Human Resources. The information in this PowerPoint will be available on the Human Resources Staff Resource page and can also be emailed to you. There are links embedded that will be useful to you throughout the presentation. The outcomes for this presentation will be that you will be made aware of your status as a mandatory reporter. You'll also be made aware of how and to whom to report any suspected abuse, child or vulnerable adult. You'll also understand it is your responsibility to report any reportable incident directly to the county and to inform your administrator. It's important to understand the Minnesota law that is behind this requirement. If you click on the link in the title, it will take you to the statute that drives the requirements for this reporting. Minnesota law requires that professionals and their delegates who work with children to make a child protection report if they know or have reason to believe a child is being neglected or abused or has been neglected or abused within the preceding 3 years. As a professional who works with children and families, you are in a key position to help protect children from harm. ISD 728 has a policy that mandates the reporting of child neglect or physical or sexual abuse. This policy is number 414. If you click on this link here, it will take you directly to the district's policy. And the purpose for this policy is to make clear the statutory requirements of school personnel to report suspected child neglect or physical or sexual abuse. And we'll continue to outline what's included in the policy and what's included in this requirement for you as we go through the rest of the presentation. We want to draw your attention to the fact that sex trafficking involving a minor is a mandatory report. The next several slides will focus on this fact, including exploiting youth and the issues that you need to be aware of. Sexual abuse includes all reports of known or suspected sex trafficking involving a child identified as a victim. And all reports of known or suspected sex trafficking involving a child should be reported to Child Protection. Sex trafficking is a type of commercial sexual exploitation that involves the prostitution of an individual in which a third person, not the buyer or the victim, facilitates or receives profits. Sex trafficking victims are engaged in commercial sexual activity through the use of force, fraud, or coercion by a third person, not the buyer or the victim. A child who is identified as a victim of sex trafficking is considered a victim of sexual abuse. The following video helps to explain a little bit more about the issue right here in Sherburne County and its surrounding areas.
It's time for Minnesota Nice to get Minnesota real. Sex trafficking is here in the Sherburne County area. Sex trafficking is hidden. It is invisible to many of us. Victims are bought and sold behind closed doors and online. We must learn to recognize human trafficking. Teens are at risk and they may not understand the hidden dangers until it's too late.
He gave me presents, nice things, even a new phone. I thought he was in love with me, but then he wouldn't let me call my friends and he started to speak for me.
When I fought with my parents, he gave me a place to stay and food to eat. But then he told me I had to earn my rent. It seemed like my only option.
I love my dad, but he routinely crossed the line. I didn't realize what he did was wrong since it was all I had ever known. And then it turned into a family business.
He said I was pretty and made me feel special. We started sexting and it was hot and exciting. But then he said he'd post the pictures online and send them to my family if I didn't do what he asked.
We met online, went out a few times. He was older than me, so I couldn't tell my mom. I thought he wanted to be with me forever. But then he started to ask for favors and became controlling. He wouldn't take no for an answer.
It didn't seem dangerous. I wasn't an addict. With my schedule, I just needed a little something to get me through finals week. But then I was hooked, and he had the goods. He had the power.
Pimps and Johns don't look any different than regular people. They can be male or female, neighbors, friends, family, professionals, employers, even people you think you should trust. Exploiters are master manipulators who lure, coerce, and groom unsuspecting victims. They often prey on vulnerable teens and preteens between the age of 11 and 16. Victims can be of any race or class, male or female. To find help for yourself or a friend, talk to your school counselor, visit dayoneservices.org, or contact the helpline via text or phone call. To learn more about the warning signs or access free resources, visit dayoneservices.org. Or to help fight and prevent sex trafficking in the Sherburne County area, visit SherburnUnitedWay.org.
So what does this mean for you? This means that we're all mandatory reporters, but we're not investigators. We're asking that you use your best judgment, but report if you suspect. As the image on the bottom right-hand corner shows, it's important to stay calm, be supportive, and report if you should suspect something. You must report immediately, within 24 hours, if you know a child is being abused. Part of this requirement is that it requires immediate verbal report and a written report within 72 hours. Weekends and holidays are excluded from that counting of the 72 hours. You might be asking yourself, what if I'm wrong? Sometimes this causes people to pause before making a report. And it's really important to understand that it is only your job to report suspicion. It's the county's job to decide if they will investigate. Oftentimes there are other reports that are coming in, and you don't know where your report maybe piles up in the amount of reports that they have. And if you give them the facts, you can let them decide with all the information that they have. If a family really is needing help, this is an opportunity for them to improve the situation. They really are there to help intervene and get services and support for the family. The following is a list of things that you should be looking for that often give you clues that there is some sort of abuse going on. A pattern of unexplained injuries or an unusual amount of explained ones can often lead you to start to question. Habitually late or absent or arrives early and leaves late and are reluctant to go home are often a clue. So attendance can be key in identifying some of these situations. Unusually fearful of adults or other children. Sometimes they're constantly tired, thin, or show evidence of malnutrition. And then often you'll see a change in behavior, mood, or ability to focus. These are just some examples, and they're not inclusive of every situation. Often your relationship with the child will let you know when something is off. Here are some important tips on how you can handle a child's report. It's important that you listen supportively. The child will carefully gauge your reaction. Remain calm. Let the child tell you what happened. Find a quiet setting if possible. It's very important that you are positioned to listen. Ask open-ended questions to obtain basic information. You want to say things like, "What happened?" or "Tell me more about that," so that they can elaborate on some of the details and can share what they're comfortable sharing with you based on your trusting relationship. You don't want to ask questions that have blame inferred, such as, "Your uncle did this to you, didn't he?" You don't want to lead them into answering questions the way that they think you want them to answer. Refrain from making promises. Don't agree to keep it secret or to fix things. You want to protect your credibility, not create expectations. Remember, the child may love the perpetrator. Often they do. It's often somebody very close to them, and they don't know any different. They may not even realize it's wrong or have been told that they will be taken away from their family and the people that they love. So, of course, as you can imagine, this is very scary for them. You don't need to tell anyone that you are making a report. Reporters are kept anonymous, and not telling gives you deniability. Telling the child may put them in a difficult position. If the child asks if the information will be reported, tell them the truth. Telling the family would impede an investigation. Informing your supervisor or administrator of your report is essential, as they may be able to help and support the student and you. If you don't report, it is a legal matter, and legal action may be taken against you for failing to report. The key is, if you suspect a child is being abused or neglected, you cannot shift the responsibility of reporting to a supervisor or to someone else in the office or school. You alone are required to make the report to the responsible agency. All of this information is coming from the Department of Human Resources as well. The statute really does not address whether mandated reporters are required to report information obtained while they are off duty or not on work hours. So mandated reporters should consult with local authorities on the issue. Voluntarily reporting really is encouraged. The next several slides provide you with information and resources on where you need to go to report in the variety of counties that we serve in our district. This slide addresses Hennepin County Child Protection Services. Each county also has a website that you can refer to and a phone number that you can call. And so this is in your presentation for your reference. And again, we'll share this information with you via email or in the staff resources section as well. For Sherburne County, they have Child Protection Services, and they have a number that you can call during business hours, and then they also have a number that you can call after business hours. And please know that when you call after business hours, you ask for the on-call social worker. Wright County also has Child Protection Services, and their website is listed there for you, along with their phone number to reach out to make a report. Vulnerable adults is another area that it's important for us to understand about the reporting requirements for this age group. If you click on this link in the title, it will take you to the DHS, or the Department of Human Services Adult Protection website. A vulnerable adult can be anyone over the age of 18 who has a physical, mental, or emotional disorder that makes it difficult for the person to care for themselves without help and to protect themselves from maltreatment. They receive services such as home care, day services, personal care assistant, or other licensed services. This can apply to students in our program such as Compass that serves adults between ages 18 to 21, for example. For vulnerable adults, maltreatment can include physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, use of restraints, involuntary seclusion, or punishment. Neglect, including a failure to provide necessary food, shelter, clothing, health care, or supervision because of neglect by a caregiver, or because a vulnerable adult cannot meet their own needs. Also included is financial exploitation, including theft or withholding of money or property, and the use of money or property not for the vulnerable adult's benefit. The term abuse and neglect are defined very similarly for children and adults. A difference there for adults is financial exploitation. Here, similar to some of the other reporting mechanisms for the county, here is where you would go to make the Minnesota adult abuse reports, and the phone number here, 1-844-880-1574. And the video that we're going to show you next just gives you an idea about how you could be the difference in reporting adult, or sometimes as it's referred to as elder abuse. While the video depicts a grandfather, it gives you a sense that abuse can happen at all ages. This is a safe place here.
Now I need you to tell me again what happened.
Excuse me, sir.
So what do you got?
It's only King 4. That's who we thought it is.
Sorry.
What? Come on.
Your grandpa's gonna be all right. Dad, it's gonna be okay.
Look, this is it.
Okay.
In addition to the other resources that we already discussed, we do have a guide that has been created for mandated reporters for ISD 728. So if you click on this link, that would take you to that document. And then the other link that's embedded in here for you is the complete Minnesota Department of Human Resources Guide for Mandated Reporters. Here's what you'll find when you click on the ISD 728 link for the quick guide. It gives you some of the summary facts and informations that were shared with you in this presentation that you certainly could print out and keep or access later. And this is a resource guide that's included in the link for you for mandated reporters. And this is a 20-page document that you can find, and it's in a PDF version should you want more information here as well. Thank you for your time and attention today. This is important work, and we all have the power to stop abuse. You are not alone in this work, so please reach out to your building principal, social worker, counselor, human resources, or my team, the Prevention and Safety Department, with any questions. Thank you.